School of Management Studies IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course Mmpc 016 International Business Management for MBA program. Presenting Block 1 Introduction to International Business, Unit 2 Globalization and Evolving Paradigm, Part 2.
Effects of globalization. Now you have a fair idea of how present globalization evolved. We shall now briefly discuss the effects of globalization. In section 2.2, we have examined several definitions of globalization given by various thinkers. You might have noted a common feature of the definitions by these thinkers who regard globalization as a process of increasing the economic, political, cultural, and technological interdependence among nations and countries. Globalization is a process by which there is an increase in interconnection and dependence between nations, people and businesses through greater cross-country mobility, communication, and cross-cultural exchanges. Thus, globalization process has given impetus to greater global production and distribution of products and services of a homogeneous kind on a worldwide basis. Now, we can demarcate the separate areas of the effects of the process of globalization. These areas of effects of globalization are as follows. 1. Integration of economies. Globalization essentially leads to greater interdependence among countries. For instance, China is the largest producer of raw material for pharmaceuticals, known as active pharma ingredients and excipients. India imports huge quantities of these APIs and excipients from China to manufacture a variety of generic drugs to world market. India is referred as the pharmacy of the world for its innate capacities to supply generic drugs to world markets at a fraction of cost of what some of these drugs are sold in developed countries. In this process, the entire mankind benefits from the raw material expertise of China and manufacturing excellence of India for supply of low-cost generic drugs to world markets. 2. Integration of strategy. A global strategy would require establishing the brand name and products in prominent markets globally in order to reap the benefits of competitive advantage through scale, scope, systems, and synergy economies. This further facilitates integration of global vision, business strategy, and business activities throughout the world. 3. Integration of industries. Globalization facilitates the increase in integration of production activity and distribution of value-added goods to world markets on the basis of competitive advantages. Global industries become interdependent, enjoying location advantages by virtue of their presence in host, parent, or third world countries and leveraging the cost-effective factors of production in the entire supply chain operations of a firm. 4. Integration of markets. Globalization leads to lowering of tariff and non-tariff barriers, thus providing bigger market access. The consumers further benefit from cultural globalization as they start using the standard product as being consumed or used in developed countries. The name and brand products are popularly known in various markets under the waves of socio-economic globalization. This has created homogeneity in tastes and likings of end users for a product in specific markets. The process of globalization integrates global economies, global strategy, global industries, global markets, global drivers, and global players in order to create organizations for global environment. It has created integration of services, resources, and products, thus creating a boundaryless environment. Drivers of globalization for an industry. An industry becomes global because of the occurrence of certain factors. From that standpoint, every industry cannot be a global one. There are certain drivers which determine the potential for globalization of an industry. There are four broad groups of drivers of globalization of an industry. These are market, cost, government, and competition. Together, these four sets of drivers cover all the major critical industry conditions that affect the potential for globalization. The drivers are primarily uncontrollable, and each industry has a level of globalization potential that is determined by these external drivers. Proponents of global marketing argue that because market needs are homogeneous, country differences are less relevant to international marketing planning. Yet, others assert that the existence of global markets is a myth. They point to the many contradictory trends around the world, suggesting stark differences in national markets and hence the need for adaptation and customization of international marketing based on individual country differences. The removal of trade barriers and the growing similarity of national markets created the potential for globalization of markets and competition. The development of MNCs or of global networks allying independent firms, cheap technology, and effective transportation and communication services has provided the practical means necessary for the integration of supply chains. These conditions are necessary but not sufficient. Intense competition in most industries is the driving force necessary for integration and globalization. A discussion on globalization has shifted the attention to a more fundamental issue: the underlying motives of the firm. Jan asserts that strategy adaptation is the means to an end, the establishment of a firm's economic assets and competitive position in the marketplace. The fundamental question is, when a firm operates in an overseas market, what are its ultimate objectives? The need to broaden the discussion to include the firm's strategic perspective in this debate has been articulated by several authors. Until recently, studies have treated a firm's choice of its global or local strategy as the outcome variable, that is, the result of a firm's marketing plan. Recent studies have expanded this limited scope to study how global or local strategies affect the overall position of the firm. Douglas and Wind and Jan point out that one key payoff of the decision on globalization and adaptation is the competitive advantage of the firm. While discussing alternative product policy options for firms, Walters and Toyn emphasize the need to evaluate such options in the context of the competitive strategy of the firm. The following four factors affect companies' ability to formulate and implement global strategy. 1. Organization structure comprises the reporting relationships in a business, the boxes and lines. 2. Management process comprises the activities such as planning and budgeting that make the business run. 3. People comprise the human resources of the worldwide business and include both managers and all other employees. 4. Culture comprises the values and unwritten rules that guide behavior in a corporation. The potential for global strategy include following four factors. 1. Market factors. These include the homogeneous market needs, the global customers or consumers, transferable brands and promotional strategies, and internationalization of the distribution channels. These factors affect the competitiveness of the industry. 2. Economic factors. These factors include the global economies of scale in manufacturing and distribution, worldwide sourcing efficiencies, and significant differences in country costs. 3. Environmental factors. The factors like declining transportation costs, improved logistics network, fast telecommunication facilities, and other technological developments, including facilitative government policies, are the external drivers for the industry. 4. Competitive factors. The factors like competitive interdependence among countries, global moves of competitors, and the prevailing opportunities to preempt the global moves of the competitors work as an aid for developing a global strategy. Besides these, to become globally competitive, the company needs to focus on the following: A. Developing a marketing plan with universal appeal. B. Help employees understand the company's global vision. C. Learning from mistakes that others have made in the past. D. Select the right partners for joint ventures overseas. Strategic implications of globalization. As patterns of international competition shifts towards globalization, there are many implications for strategy formulation. In a global industry, functions of finance, marketing, human resource planning, and manufacturing processes become far more complex. Further, the changing government policies of the host countries have its implications for a global company or firm. The strategic implications arising out of globalization are described as A. International alliances. International alliances are inherent implication of the globalization. As a firm becomes global, it has to enter into alliances with similar kinds of firm for the purpose of manufacturing, sourcing, and marketing, and even for supply chain and logistics operations to cut the cost of business. The compatibility with the alliance partners in business vision, management philosophy, profit motives, ethical practices have its important bearing on the global strategy of an internationally engaged business firm. B. Organizational challenges. The need to configure and coordinate globally in complex ways creates some obvious organizational challenges such as organizational structure, reporting hierarchies, communication linkages, and reward mechanisms. C. Relations with the government. In the globalized era, the selection of foreign markets to enter the mode of entry will, by and large, depend on the negotiations with the foreign government. The muscle power of the global firm can be crucial in determining the shift of power equilibrium. A global firm must manage its relationship with the foreign government to its advantage. A shining example of what happens if it fails to do so is Enron Power Corporation in India. 4. Competition. A global firm may be in a better position to compete with its global rivals as it can augment its resources globally. These implications of globalization will lead companies to take care of these issues, forcing them to formulate an appropriate strategy to handle them. The remarkable growth of the global economy over the past 50 years has been shaped by the dynamic interplay of various driving and restraining forces. During most of the decades, companies from different parts of the world achieved great success by using global strategies. The momentum of globalization is greatly facilitated by technological innovations. For instance, Google became world famous in a short period of time. No one has imagined that Elon Musk will become one among the richest persons in the world in a short span time in 21st century. Today, the growing importance of global business stems from the fact that driving forces have more momentum than the restraining forces. It is, however, important to recognize that in the near future, financial and trade activities will still be the dominant forces and features of globalization. Nevertheless, it is essential to point out that trade is only one of the myriad of global activities related to globalization. Free movement of capital, goods, and labor, and the establishment of a civil society where cultural and political tolerances are the norms, are the foundations of true globalization. Summary. To sum up, the pillars of globalization are open trade and vital civil and legal institutions that uphold individual and group rights while facilitating social and economic integration. The benefits of international trade are numerous, example job creation, improving customer welfare, stimulating economic growth, and so on. Nevertheless, limiting globalization only to trade and the profits associated with increasing trade volumes does not do justice to growing beliefs and practices that aim at establishing prosperous and stable world. In other words, globalization cannot just be synonymous to trade volume and export profits. It is an orientation that seeks to enhance and strengthen global understanding and effective business, professional, and personal interactions. The focus on trade volume and on export limits the ability and the capacity of people to become involved in activities that release energy and stimulate global thinking and behavior. In addition, focusing on trade volume alone may prevent individuals and organizations alike from moving forward in advancing causes and programs that are not profit-oriented. While it is a misjudgment to discount the importance of profit-oriented activities In furthering globalization aims, it is equally a mistake to disregard non-business activities. These activities are expected to be crucial for strengthening global thinking and practice in the decades to come.
You were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program. Course code Mmpc 016 International Business Management. Course Coordinator Professor G. Subayama. Voiceover by Renuka. Edited by Ashok Sharma. Program assisted by Tarannum Jahan and Jagbandhu Jana. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.